I have talked about this guy too, but I think it's been like over a year since I've talked about him. This guy right here, his name is Jason Yates, Yates. And not that long ago, I will show you one of his websites here. Jason Yates was the CEO of My Faith Votes. And you can see from his bio here, their most recent role. I don't know. It is funny to me. Jason Yates uses the pronoun there, which seems unusual for him. But his most recent role was as the CEO of My Faith Votes, a national nonprofit organization focused on empowering people of faith to vote in every election. And of course, he wants them to vote for Republicans. That organization is nonpartisan, but you could see on their website, I will show you their website right here. Even on their website, when you scroll down, why do we exist? While secular progressives have actively sought to implement a counterfeit worldview at every level of government, Christians have remained quietly inside the walls of the church. As a result of apathy at the voting booth and in public life, we've suffered devastating moral decay, declining religious freedom, immoral national debt, and the erosion of traditional family values. And that is why Christians have elected the most immoral, non-family values guy ever, the guy who allegedly did all this stuff with Epstein. And they voted for Republicans who passed a bill to add like $4 trillion or something to the national debt. So success? I don't know. The group sucks. The mission sucks. I've been covering politics and religion for like, I don't know, 25 years now, and then following it for longer than that. Christians have never not been 100% involved in modern government. All right. So this idea that, oh, Christians, they're not involved in, no, they're involved too much. And that's the problem. Anyway, Mike Huckabee used to be this group's honorary national chairman before he became ambassador to Israel so he can hurt more Palestinian kids. So that's what this group was. That's what Jason Yates used to lead. And I'll show you one more thing about Jason Yates. Last July, about a year ago, he wrote this article for the right-wing Washington Times. If Christians don't act, who will? And what did he say? Let's look right here. He talked about how he took his son to a robotics competition at a secular university. And look at what he says here. We were immediately confronted with posters encouraging children to embrace strange new sexual horizons. They were handing out literature with an agenda to teach him to doubt the link between his mind and body, his self and his self-image. They offered Levi a rainbow button to wear, encouraging him to declare his gender preferences. Wasn't this supposed to be a robotics competition? Listen, what happened here is that this robotics competition took place at a local college. And when they went to the college, guess what? The robotics competition is not the only thing in town. So there were students handing out like pride merch. And they were like, what's your pronouns? And he could have said he, him, but apparently pronouns are too much for Christians to handle. So he got a rainbow pin or something, and the father went ballistic because this is depravity of the worst kind, right? So clearly, whenever Christians, conservative Christians, pretend that religion and morality are linked together, and anyone outside the overlap of that Venn diagram, if you exist outside of that overlap, you are immoral. You know how the story turns out, right? So here's the pop quiz for you. What did Jason Yates do? I will give you a second to think about that while I pull it up. And I did make a video about this last November, but it's been a while. So this is an article from last November. And let's see what our friend Jason Yates is up to. Let's see. Here we go. Jason Yates, the former CEO of My Faith Votes, has been charged with 8 felony counts of possession of very disturbing content. Don't make me say it. I don't want this demonetized. Each of the 8 charges carry a maximum sentence of 10 years in prison and a fine of $10,000. So this dude faced 80 years in prison. They note that Yates has a prior conviction and is a registered predatory offender. Oh, so this isn't even the first time he's been in trouble for this. So, yeah, he would run a Christian organization dedicated to linking religion and morality. So, that was disturbing. And by the way, again, I discussed this the last time I made a video about this in November, but basically, the court documents for this, the reason he was charged with these crimes, it was a devastating story. And what I could make of it is that there was a relative who went to visit his home and they were working out of this guy's home office and they needed a way to store some files. Like they didn't have a zip drive on them, so they needed something. And so they found a portable hard drive in Yates's dresser. And so they plugged it into their computer only to realize it had over 100 sexually explicit images of underage people. And after that person who saw that is like, oh my goodness, they contacted a trusted friend and the friend is like, you should just turn that right over to the police. And that is what they did. And by the way, the victims we are talking about here are between the ages of 5 and 7. So anyway, at that time, this dude was forbidden from having any contact after he was charged with this. You can't have any contact with anyone under the age of 18. I assume that includes his daughter's lacrosse team, which he was a coach of. And at the time, Religion News Service was writing an article on this, and they got a statement from My Faith Votes, his group. And what they said is that in early August 2024, the My Faith Votes Board of Directors separated Jason Yates from My Faith Votes. Like, yeah, he left a while ago. Don't blame us. Don't include us in your article. We have nothing to do with this. They said nothing, by the way, about a Christian organization treating secular progressives as moral degenerates while also hiring a guy who was hoarding illicit content involving kids. They had nothing to say about that. By the way, that hearing that he had for this case after he was charged with the crime, that hearing occurred right before My Faith Votes held an online pre-election prayer event urging listeners to vote for candidates who support Christian values. So the group, having gotten rid of their leader, because he's in trouble, they were like, you know what we need in this country? Christian values. Don't anyone ask any questions. So the same people who were elevating a lying racist sex predator for president were fresh off of being led by an alleged child sex predator. And why am I telling you all this now? Because there is news now. Because this week, I believe it was this week, or at least in the month of July, Jason Yates finally entered his plea. He is pleading guilty to some of these charges. And this is the actual document. This goes on for a while, but I want to go down to where did it go? This bit right here, number 21. Here's what he's doing. He promised, you remember he was charged with 8 counts of possession. He said, I'm going to plead guilty to counts 1 and 2, and all the rest will be dismissed. What else is important here? He will have supervised probation for up to 5 years, up to 240 days in jail, so less than 1 year. What else? He might have a psychosexual examination. He's not allowed to contact any females under the age of 14. He has to be a registered sex offender, and then he'll actually get sentenced in September. September 29th is his sentencing. So basically, by pleading guilty to 2 of the charges, the other 6 identical charges are going to be dismissed. That means he will spend probably less than a year in jail, no more. And also, by the way, I found this interesting. He would not be allowed to view any adult content online, and there would be software installed on his computer to make sure that doesn't happen. We're not talking about like children content. He's not allowed to watch any Ryan Walters favored content either. He also has to pay a bond of $100,000. So if he did not take that plea deal, this guy faced a prison sentence that could have been up to 10 years if they were all served concurrently. I want to point out our friend Jason Yates here, he is not a drag queen. He is not a trans person. He's just a cisgender, white, hetero Christian who votes for Republicans. Just, I felt it's important to point that out. I also found this last thing I'll mention. The day after this guy pled guilty, he pleaded guilty. My Faith Votes, it's still going. They put out their weekly news summary, and let's see what's in this summary. They're very mad. A bill positioned as the Equality Act is gradually moving its way through Congress and is designed to crush moral decency and religious freedom beneath the feet of the radical LGBTQ lobby. And this bill is being called a dangerous ambush of religious freedoms and may also allow pedophiles to become a protected class under the specific language used. All of that is bullshit. But also, the day after their former president pleaded guilty to some heinous crimes, his former organization is like, you know what, we need to stop LGBTQ people because those are the predators in our society. They haven't learned a damn thing from any of this. Like, I can't tell if that's a lack of self-awareness or a genuine desire to pretend like their former leader wasn't the guy he actually was, who's way more dangerous to kids than any of the LGBTQ people they're worried about. Like, I want to know at what point any of these Christian organizations will reckon with the fact that the biggest threats to children are often in positions of power within religious organizations, or the very people they're voting for, who's currently in trouble because he can't stop himself from talking about his best friend Jeffrey. Like, the people who are fighting for civil rights and social justice or trying to read books to children in libraries, or the ones who are flying rainbow flags and hanging out rainbow pins, those are not the people you need to worry about. Your priest is way more suspicious without knowing anything else than like the person handing out a rainbow pin. Anyway, this Yates guy, he'll be sentenced on September 29th. Right now, I don't know what the maximum thing the judge can throw at him would be, but whatever it is, I hope that's what happens. Good riddance. All right, I'll stop there. Any last questions here? Otherwise, I think we've been going for a while. You know what, Hemant? You aren't any good at bedtime stories. Sorry, I only tell horror stories. You could call me Seth Andrews. I don't have the voice, but I like telling the horror stories.